You know that feeling when you're at a crowded party, standing just slightly outside the main circle of conversation? You're holding a drink you've been nursing for 20 minutes, and while everyone else is shouting over the bass, you're watching. You see the couple arguing silently in the corner, the guy pretending to enjoy a conversation he actually hates, and the host nervously checking the clock. It is a strange sensation, isn't it? You aren't participating, but you aren't absent either. You are hyper-present. While the room feels like chaos to them, to you, it feels like a map. But here's the question that probably haunts you on the drive home. Why does everyone else seem to get energy from the noise while you only feel like you're burning fuel just to stand upright? Let's unpack this fascinating difference together. This isn't just about being shy. Shyness is a fear of social judgment. What you are experiencing is often something entirely different, called sensory processing sensitivity. Think of the social world like a deep ocean. Most people are splashing around on the surface, riding the waves, enjoying the spray. They are built for the chop. You, however, are a deep-sea submersible. You are designed to detect pressure changes, slight shifts in currents, and the bioluminescent flickers in the dark. Neither design is broken, but if you take a submersible and toss it into a surface storm, it's going to get battered. You aren't missing the how to be human memo. You are just reading the fine print that everyone else ignored. But let's be real, it can feel incredibly isolating. You might wonder why you can't just turn it off. Here is where it gets interesting. A study from Imperial College London and MIT looked at dopamine neurons in the dorsal raphe nucleus, a specific part of the brainstem, and found something that flips the traditional script on its head. We usually think dopamine is just the reward chemical, the thing that makes you chase fun. But this research suggests that for some, these neurons are actually sensitive to isolation in a way that mimics physical pain or hunger. But here's the twist. In wallflowers, or highly observant types, the dopamine system might not be underactive, but rather tuned to a different frequency. You aren't bored, you are overstimulated. Your brain is processing micro-expressions, tone shifts, and environmental details that the surface swimmers filter out completely. Stay with me, because this leads to some fascinating behaviors. If you are a wallflower, you likely have what psychologists call a high pause-to-check ratio. Before you speak, you run a simulation. You drift through 3 or 4 potential outcomes of a sentence before you even open your mouth. By the time you've decided on the safe comment, the conversation has moved on. It's like trying to merge onto a highway where everyone else is driving a sports car and you are driving a tank. You are safer, sure, but you are also slower. And here's the thing nobody talks about. This hesitation wasn't always a liability. In fact, for most of human history, it was an insurance policy. Imagine for a moment you are back in the Paleolithic era. Your tribe is gathering around a fire, laughing, eating, and distracted. If everyone is focused on the fire, who is watching the dark tree line for the saber-toothed tiger? You are. Evolutionary psychology suggests that the inhibited temperament survived natural selection because every group needed a sentry. They needed someone who wasn't easily swept up in the group hysteria, someone who stood on the periphery and noticed the snapping twig. You aren't bad at partying. You are evolutionarily designated to keep the party from getting eaten. Quick question. Have you ever noticed that people eventually come to you for advice when things go wrong? That is the payoff of the observer role. Because you aren't fighting for the spotlight, you see the dynamics that others miss. A study published in Management Science explored this aversion to standing out, noting that some individuals deliberately signal average behavior to avoid the reputational costs of being too visible. It is a strategic camouflage. In Japan, there is a cultural concept known as hitori, the state of being one person or solitude. It isn't necessarily negative. It is a recognition that the self exists distinctly from the group. While Western culture often screams, "Look at me," The wallflower intuitively understands the power of hitori, of maintaining a distinct vantage point. However, we have to talk about the cost. Living in the deep ocean is safe, but it is also cold. The danger of the wallflower existence is that your simulations of life can start to replace life itself. You might become so good at predicting how a conversation will go that you decide it's not worth having. You protect yourself from awkwardness, but you also waterproof yourself against connection. The sentry is vital for survival, but the sentry also sleeps alone outside the cave. It is a heavy uniform to wear 24/7. So, what does that mean for you? It means you can stop apologizing for your nature. You don't need to force yourself to be the life of the party. The party already has enough noise. Your value lies in your depth, your ability to pause, and your capacity to see what others miss. But maybe, just occasionally, you can signal to the other submersible across the room. You don't have to surface, you just have to turn on your light. If this hit home, and you've ever felt like you're watching a movie everyone else is starring in, you might want to stick around. We're going to dive even deeper into the science of social signaling in the next one.